evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the next in our series of the Polar Routes Inspiration series. Thank you so much for joining us and giving up your time for what I hope will be a really interesting session this evening. My name is Martin Johnson. I'm the co-founder and director of Polar Routes and your host. Really nice to see some familiar names joining us today and also some new names as well. It has been a while since we've had a Polar Routes Inspiration series, but we are back with a really interesting topic for today and some more in the pipeline as well. So I do hope you will enjoy today and join us again in the future. A little bit more of that coming up. I am just going to share my screen. Bear with, I did it just before and I had Zoom had a little bit of a meltdown. So I'm just going to share and hopefully it will all go fine. There we go. I think it's working fine. So just to, I had a bit of a panic just about 1 minute before we were about to start there. So all looks good. So just to introduce ourselves and tonight's session, so you know what's going to happen. Coming up tonight, I'm just going to do a short intro. You'll be glad to hear not too much from me today, but just for those of you who are new, just to introduce ourselves a little bit. And tonight's session, we have Mikolai Golachowski. I think I've said that correct. Who is going to be doing a really fascinating presentation on mammals in Antarctica. That is the main part of tonight. We're then going to be joined by Becky from Quark Expeditions for a short presentation about them, and then we will have questions and answers as well as a prize. So those of you who've joined us before know that we do a prize for every session. Tonight, because it's been a while, we've got a choice of two really good ones here. On the left, you may choose tonight to receive a tin, a polar bear tin, special edition polar bear tin of some of the most delicious brownies you'll ever taste by Pink Pepper Kitchen. Or you may choose a signature Sea Change pack of wine. So it's 3 bottles of wine from Sea Change, which is a really great organization that produces wine and donates to plastic conservation or the cleanup of plastic in our ocean. So it's wine that tastes good and does good. So that's tonight's prize. Now, as you may know, if you wish to win that prize, you will need to be here at the end of the session to claim your prize. So that's what's on offer tonight. Big thank you tonight to Quark Expeditions. They are, as you know, we need a partner for these sessions to run. Tonight's partner is Quark Expeditions, and as mentioned, we'll be joined by Becky a little bit later to hear a little bit more about the wonderful world of expedition cruising with Quark Expeditions. So thank you once again to them. So for those of you who are new, we are Polar Routes. We are the Polar Expedition Cruise Specialists, and we are wholesalers of expedition cruise to the polar regions and beyond. And this is the sort of things that we do. Everything that's small ship, getting off the ship and exploring the polar regions as much as possible or as much as you want to create some fantastic experiences like this in South Georgia. And apologies to Quark because it is an old ship, but I just love this picture. This is the kind of experience that you can have in South Georgia. You've then got fantastic whales and wildlife. We work with over 22 leading expedition operators, all hand selected by us to ensure they offer the very best quality, value, and sustainable practices. We act as a one-stop shop, so compare all of the itineraries, ships, prices, and inclusions to help you find your perfect expedition cruise. All of our team are first-hand traveled to the polar regions and have detailed knowledge of the ship, so you can ask us anything, and we can also package those cruises with all the necessary flights, transfers, and exciting land packages if you want to do more around your cruise as well. These are some of the people that we work with. So you'll see names on there you perhaps recognize, also some of the small guys as well. And as you'd expect, all prices the same or better than cruise operators direct. That's absolutely guaranteed. All operator offers applicable to when you book through us. Plus, you'll see exclusive Polar Routes deals, and we've got a great one for you later as well. You can also earn bookings on your points on your bookings that you can put towards future cruise through our scheme, My Routes Rewards. And of course, as you'd expect, 100% financial protection with Atoll. Our charity partners are UK Antarctic Heritage Trust, so we take a donation from every booking and put it towards UK Antarctic Heritage Trust. They've been our charity partner for a little while now, and of course they operate Port Lockroy, the British Post Office, as well as a number of other historic sites and points of interest in Antarctica. So a really worthwhile cause that we support there as well. That's everything from us. On to tonight, and just before we introduce our special guest, just to let you know that if you have got questions for either Miko or for Becky or for myself about expedition cruising in general, then please pop them in the Q&A box that you should find at the bottom of your screen. Don't need to wait. Pop it in as soon as you think of it. And then at the end of today's session, just before we announce the prize winner, we'll go through I'll go through the questions and ask them for whoever they are relevant for. So please do use it. Do say, do pop any questions you have for Miko, for Becky, for myself into the Q&A box. So on to tonight's special guest. Miko's long career began conducting research on genetics and behavior of different carnivores in the winter forests of northeast Poland. Upon receiving a PhD in 2002, he went on to his first scientific overwintering expedition to the Polish Antarctic Station to investigate the genetics and reproductive strategies of southern elephant seals. And in the years that follows, Miko's worked there on 3 more occasions, the most recent being a year-long mission in which he was the base commander of the 32nd Polish Antarctic Expedition. Today, Miko is a marine biologist and historian on board Quark Expeditions vessels with extensive expertise on working within the polar regions. So I hope you would agree he's a real expert, really knows his stuff, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from him. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite Miko to pop his camera on. And his sound as well. There we go.
Hello.
Excellent. Hello, Miko. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Martin. I'm good, and thanks for the invitation.
No problem at all. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Really looking forward to it. I will take my camera off, leave you to it. Over to you.
You mean right now?
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're ready.
Oh, I am ready. Fair enough.
Brilliant.
So, well, I have been honored to talk to you and to be invited to talk to you. The thing is that the time is limited, and I've already been asked about quite a lot of topics, which means that I will have to make it reasonably brief. But I've decided to call this presentation a bipolar life because this is as general as it gets, I guess. So let's get on with this. I will first talk about, just very briefly, about the 2 polar regions that we have on our planet. And then I will narrow it down to Antarctica and talk about the specifics of that ecosystem, but also I will concentrate on the mammals that live there, and then about my own work. And I will just say a few words how it is to live in Antarctica at the station. So let us proceed. The name Arcticos is what started it all. It actually was coined by the ancient Greeks. And Arcticos is just an adjective, meaning of the bear. Arctos is a bear in Greek. So they basically called the lands in the north of our planet the Arctic, after the bear. However, it does not refer to the polar bears that live there. It just so happens, and it's very convenient for us. But it refers to the constellation of the Great Bear, which is in the northern sky. And therefore, we have the Arctic in the north. And then the same Greeks also, they realized that this is the funny thing, because with the wrong premises, they came to the right conclusions. They thought that if we have so many lands in the north, we must have some lands in the south to balance it out. As we know, we are just a little ball floating in space, so there's no need to balance. But they got it right. There is land in the south, and they already coined the term anti-Arctic, the opposite of the Arctic, and that's the Antarctic. This term was not immediately accepted, but this is what we use now. As you know, these two regions behave very differently within a year. So when we in the Northern Hemisphere, when it's summer coming, like it is now, in the Antarctic, winter is coming reasonably soon. So the seasons are opposite. And this is what you can see in this little animation. If we freeze it, so to speak, the two regions look similar enough, but then if we were to remove the ice, which is what the humanity is in the process of doing anyway, we'll find that there are, I'm sorry about this, but they are polar opposites. And you will see that the huge difference is that in the north, you have the ocean surrounded by continents, whereas in the south, you have the continents surrounded by oceans. That doesn't sound like much, but it really reflects the huge difference between the poles. Otherwise, of course, climatic conditions are similar. There is a lot of snow, a lot of ice, and so on. But what it really means is that in the Arctic, as you have all those continents coming into the Arctic, you have proper land ecosystems. So you have animals that are related to their cousins in more temperate zones. And that's why the fauna in the Arctic is actually quite similar to that, say, in North America, Poland, or Asia. And you have similar players. You have a polar bear who's related to our brown bear and so forth. So essentially, there are land ecosystems in the Arctic, and they are kind of similar, except that the conditions are different to those in the south, further south, like in temperate zones. Therefore, you have actual land food pyramid in the ecosystem of the Arctic. You have the primary producers, so you have a lot of little plants growing on the ground. Then you have herbivores who eat those plants, and then you have the carnivores who eat those herbivores. Nothing like this exists in the Antarctic. So in the Arctic, you have the polar bears and the proper land ecosystem. Also, of course, you have a marine ecosystem as well. In the south, it's completely different. In fact, if there's one thing I would like you to remember from this seminar, this is my private mission in life. I've been working in polar regions for the last 22 years, and really, this is something that I care about. Like, if one thing to remember is, please remember that polar bears do not live in Antarctica. In fact, Antarctica is so far away from all the other continents that anything that lives there had to either swim or fly to get there, which means that there are no land predators. Nothing like bears, nothing like wolves, nothing like foxes, not even humans. Humans only made it to Antarctica about 200 years ago, which means animals on land in Antarctica behave very differently than they would in our own countries, because they have no idea that they should be afraid of anything, so they're not. And this is what makes it so special. Now, Antarctica is a superbly productive ecosystem or environment. In total, what we call Antarctica covers about 50 million square kilometers. And you see this little dotted line wiggling around the continent. This is the so-called polar front. And I have to say just a few words about the polar front, because this is what defines Antarctica. This is a border that all the biologists use, oceanographers as well, because this is where the warmer waters from the north meet the colder waters from the south. You have to now sort of imagine our globe, and to your left, this is the south, to your right, this is the north, and you have those warmer waters and the colder waters converging, hence Antarctic convergence. And the special physical properties of water are such that the colder it gets, the denser and heavier it becomes until a certain temperature, which means that the cold waters will sink underneath the warm waters. But there's another feature, which is viscosity. Basically, the cold waters are quite sticky, and they drag the warmer waters with them towards the bottom of the ocean. However, they don't mix, so the warmer waters will still want to come up back to the surface, and that creates an upward movement of the water, which we call upwelling, and that brings nutrients to the surface of the sea. Of course, nutrients are what you need when you want to grow plants. So you have phytoplankton growing there, and by themselves they're minuscule little cells, but they bloom. They have such good conditions because of all the nutrients coming in from the bottom, and also because of the almost permanent sunlight in summer, that they just explode in their numbers. And such is the logic of nature, that when you have so much food, you will have somebody eating that food. And this is where the Antarctic krill, by far the most important organism in the Antarctic, comes in. By themselves, they're not very impressive. They're only about 8 centimeters long at the maximum. However, they multiply so much with this amount of food that you can see all those little pink smudges here. This is the krill as seen from the sky. The swarms of krill are absolutely enormous. And that means that, of course, with the same logic, there will be a lot of organisms benefiting from it, even up to the greatest of the whales. And this is actually the truth, that if you live in Antarctica, everybody eats krill. If you don't eat krill, then you probably eat somebody that eats krill. So you're still dependent on the krill. So krill, this is why I call it the cornerstone species. This is the most important species in all of Antarctica. And this is why the Antarctic food web looks like this. It is much more complicated in the north. I'm not going to go into details of that, but in the south, it's relatively simple. You have krill here at the very center, and then everybody eats the krill. There is therefore a little bit of a paradox, which I find quite interesting, because we know that Antarctic is a continent surrounded by the ocean. However, the continent itself almost doesn't have any life at all. Nowadays, it has some scientists, guess, but otherwise, there's only life on the edges of the continent, and the whole ecosystem is really a marine ecosystem. This is why I call it a paradox. It's a continent, but so it is land surrounded by water, but the Antarctic ecosystem is a marine ecosystem. So now, let's look at some of the key players in that ecosystem. One thing that is quite characteristic for both these regions, that's another one of those similarities, is that there are not too many species that have adapted to live here. However, those who have, they find so much food and such amazing conditions that they live in huge numbers. If you think about, say, rainforest, it would be easy for you to find 100 individuals of 100 different species. Easier than find 100 individuals of one species. In the Antarctic or in the Arctic, it's the opposite. You would struggle to find 100 species, but easily you will find 100 individuals of each one of them. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it does to me. When we start talking about biology or, well, any creatures really, I would like to start with this quote from Teodosiusz Dobrzański, who was an American geneticist, and he says that nothing in biology makes any sense whatsoever except in the light of evolution. So let's just bear this in mind, especially in these troubled times. And this is why we'll just very, very briefly touch on the evolution. I will now concentrate on whales and later on seals. About 52 million years ago, we had the first ancestors of whales, and they were still living on land. As you can see, we have reasonably well documented all the intermediate stages of that evolution. And then we get to these days where we have the Mysticeti, or the baleen whales, and the Odontoceti, or the toothed whales. And this is what we've got these days. So I'll start with the Odontoceti, with the toothed whales. There's really just one species of those that we regularly meet in the Antarctic, and that's the orca, also known as the killer whale. And orcas are dolphins, really. They are the largest member of the dolphin family. They are globally distributed. You can find them in all sorts of corners of the world, but they do differ from one to another, which means that we divide them into so-called ecotypes. In Antarctica, we have 4 of those, and they do differ in their coloration, a little bit in the body shape, but look at the shape of that eye patch. It is different for every one of those types. And all those types feed on different things. Here, where we mostly go, which is around the peninsula in the western part of the Antarctic continent, we mostly meet type B orcas, which feed either on seals or on penguins. Others feed on whales and on fish. But once you are one ecotype, you probably just feed on one thing, more or less. They are different enough that I think it's just a matter of time when they will be recognized as separate species. But let's go back to our orcas. So we do meet them, not on every trip, but they're always around. So this is something that we always look forward to. And this was an occasion from last season. You can see that there is an orca here chasing a penguin. The penguin is trying to swim away quite desperately. Alas, to no avail. And this is a penguin already caught by the orca. This is what we saw right in front of our ship, which was absolutely fascinating. However, the orcas kept the penguin alive for quite a while. They would toss it around a little bit, just like you can see here. But they kept it alive because that was a training session for the young orcas. So the old adults caught the penguin, and then they were teaching the young how to do it, which was absolutely fascinating. All I'm saying is that, there are predators, of course. They're super smart. Although, if you were to ask me how smart are they, I wouldn't answer, because it's almost impossible to compare well, it is impossible to compare intelligence even amongst humans, because first of all, we don't even know what intelligence really is. But comparing it between species, that just makes no sense whatsoever. My favorite quote on this is that there's this American marine biologist, and her name is the best for the job that she's doing. She's called Lori Marino, and somebody once asked her, how smart are the orcas? And she said, well, I'm not sure if an orca would make a very smart human, but I'm quite sure that a human would make an exceptionally dumb orca. And that's as we leave it. They are smart, fascinating creatures. Come to Antarctica and see them. The other group of whales is the Mysticeti, or the baleen whales, and this is the baleen plates that I found on the beach in Antarctica. That's me, like, I think 15 years ago or something. That comes from a minke whale, actually. So basically, baleen whales, they don't have teeth. They have those plates hanging from their upper jaw, and this is their filtering mechanism, and this is how they feed. In the Antarctic, we have several species, but I'll just concentrate on some of the most characteristic ones. So the southern right whale, you can see that there is no dorsal fin on this one. They're spectacular, they're reasonably rare. They also, and this may come as a bit of a trivia for you, they have the largest testes in animal kingdom. 1 ton of testes, which is very impressive. That's probably what makes them so joyful. Anyway, that's the southern right whales. Others we meet mostly in the open ocean when we go across the Drake Passage, but the humpback whales and the minke whales are the ones that we meet right in the Antarctic next to the peninsula. So I'll just very, very briefly play you some sound like that. Humpbacks are not only known for the amazing songs, they're also known for their very advanced hunting techniques, such as bubble nets. They would have one swimming underneath a school of fish or krill, releasing bubbles in a circular motion, and then those bubbles would make a curtain concentrating the ball of prey, and then they can forage. Another fascinating thing about humpbacks is that it has been recently discovered that they actually protect other marine creatures. So they interrupt orca hunts whenever they see orcas hunting something. And this is one of the most amazing photos ever taken. This is actually a Weddell seal on the belly of a humpback whale who is saving the seal from the orcas. And this is another thing that we can see, because humpbacks are super curious. And I have to say that whenever this is me driving my little boat, and this is a humpback right next to me. And I must say that this is one of the best experiences in the world, when you have this amazing animal that's so much bigger and stronger than you are. And they could hurt us easily, but they don't. They just come because they're curious. And this is absolutely amazing. It's like almost a religious experience for me, being anti-religious. Anyway, Antarctic minke whale is another species that also comes to play with us sometimes. They also want to investigate. And I will just show you. They're smaller. They're only about 9 meters long, which still means they're huge, but they're just much smaller than many other whales. And I just want to play very short videos of one of those meetings. So this is a minke whale that decided to check on our zodiac last season. This is the same whale underwater. Notice their slender bodies. They have this pointy beak, beak and rostrum, which makes it easier for them to maneuver amongst the ice. Absolutely wonderful meetings, and as I say, it's almost like a religious experience when you are in a small boat and this absolutely amazing animal is right next to you. This is just crazy. And they all feed on krill, or some of them on some other crustaceans as well, but in Antarctica, krill is the main food that they go after. And the other group is the seals. So they all belong to the group that we call dog-like carnivores. So they belong together with your dog, with the bears and weasels, but they are a separate group. So they are called the pinnipeds or flipper legs. There are three families there. One is the walrus, who does not exist in Antarctica, so go to the Arctic to see it. But in the Antarctic, we have one eared seal and several of the so-called true seals. There are two different families. So let's go with the eared seals. This is the Antarctic fur seal, Arctocephalus gazella. And especially when we go to South Georgia, we can see them, but not only there. Their pups are obviously super cute and very, very curious. Unfortunately, these days, because of the bird flu, we cannot allow them to come so close to us, but they're just absolutely gorgeous little animals. Adults, maybe a little bit more problematic because they want to bite you. So, and notice that these guys can actually run because they can flip their hind flippers underneath their body and they can run. So you don't want them to bite you, right? Obviously. And so that's fur seals feeding on krill, mostly a subantarctic species, really. So South Georgia is a great place to see them. And then we have the true seals. That's the crab-eater seal. I think the most interesting thing about crab-eaters is that they don't ever eat any crabs because there are no crabs in Antarctica. They eat krill, again. And they have this amazing krill filtering mechanism in their mouth made with their teeth. So they're like miniature whales. And normally, remember, animals in Antarctica are not afraid of us. So they just lie on the ice floes, and as we come, they're not bothered by our presence at all. So this is one of the encounters we can have. The crab-eaters just completely chilling on the piece of ice, and we are obviously very, very quiet and very gentle with them, not to wake them up. But this is paradise. Animals are not afraid of us. Absolutely amazing. Next one is Weddell seal. Before I say anything about it, let it speak for itself. They make some of the craziest sounds in Animal Kingdom. And this one will show you how they move. You remember the eared seals, they can actually run. True seals don't run. They only sort of wiggle themselves up, and they move like giant slugs or caterpillars because they cannot flip those hind flippers underneath. Weddell seals hunt for fish, but the fish eat krill, so they're still dependent on the krill. And they have possibly the cutest babies on the planet. I think personally, you know, I'm a scientist, I'm not supposed to say these things, but I think that the Weddell seals are the most beautiful of all the seals, and their babies are just absolutely off charts. Next one, leopard seal, a predator, a fascinating animal. They catch penguins, they catch other seals. They're also possibly a source of legends about the giant sea serpents because they have this elongated body up to 4 meters long in the case of females, and this huge, massive mouth full of teeth. They hunt penguins, they hunt little seals, but their main food is still krill. So again, another species that's dependent on the krill. They're also quite curious. You can see one trying to puncture my zodiac here. It was not successful, but they're always up to it because, you know, they've discovered that when they puncture a zodiac, there's this very satisfying psss sound, and then the people on the zodiac start jumping around and screaming, and it's all a lot of rejoicing. So that's what they do, and that's why you have to be quite careful. But I love them dearly. And normally when we see them, they're just lying completely relaxed, and we are the ones who need to worry. Anyway, all of those animals that I've just mentioned, they're not what technically brought me to Antarctica in the first place. 22 years ago, just after my PhD, I went to and this is a personal confession I need to make, because I honestly and naively thought that this would be the one odd expedition to Antarctica, because I thought that, oh yeah, now I'm not sure what to do. I've just finished this. I'll go to Antarctica for 1 year to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And as I said, it was 22 years ago, and I've been coming back ever since. And the project that brought me to Antarctica for that 1 year was to study elephant seals, the southern elephant seal. This is the largest seal on this planet. The males are so big that they should be actually put on little maps as little hillocks that move around a little bit. And they may weigh up to 5 tons. Normally they weigh about 3.5 tons, which is big enough already. And in length, they can measure about 6.5 meters at the maximum. Females are much smaller. They only weigh about 800 kilos. And whenever you have this huge difference between animals of different sexes, then you can guess, this is the so-called sexual dimorphism, you can guess that there will be strong competition amongst the males for the females, and those who are successful will have access to multiple females. And indeed, this is the case with the elephant seals. The males will defend little territories. Actually, the females show up later. And me, as a feminist, I like to emphasize that it is the females that make the ultimate choice, because the males are defending territories and the females just show up and they decide which will be their mate for the season. Anyway, the males are trying to establish those territories. They roar at each other, and if they can intimidate each other, that's fine, because they don't really want to fight, because they can both end up hurt. But eventually, if the roaring is not enough, they will have to start fighting, and this is quite bloody. And you can imagine the clash of the titans when the two 3-ton animals are charging at each other at speed and slashing each other with 10-centimeter long canines. It's just absolute mayhem. But those who are successful have up to 100 females in that particular season, so it's all worth it. Side note here, quite often they are so exhausted about the 1 month of doing nothing else but tending to those females and fighting their opponents. They engaged in what in punk rock generation, this is my generation, we used to call sex and violence, and for months they don't do anything else, and they're so exhausted at the end of it that they quite often die of exhaustion, because they don't have the time to eat in that time. But that's one of the most beautiful ways to go, I guess. Anyway, they have those little very, very cute pups, and my question was, is the pup that of a harem master, or beach master, maybe I should say, or is it from one of the sneakers? Because there are also smaller males who are sexually mature, but they cannot really come and compete openly with those big ones, so they try to sneak up on the females. So I had to take DNA samples. And DNA sample, I used very sophisticated equipment, which was a little brush that you used to comb your cat, and it was mounted on a broomstick. So when it came to the little pups, it was actually the most pleasant part of my job, because you can see that this pup is completely relaxed. In fact, they were slightly intimidated when I started scratching, but then they would just completely relax and roll around showing me where to scratch, because they're molting, so it's a little bit itchy. And I can tell you that there's not a more pleasant thing in a scientist's life than when the animal is enjoying the sciencing you do on it. It's absolutely amazing. However, it was slightly different with these guys. Now, there's one thing you have to realize about them. They dive very deeply. Their eyes are very, very well adapted to seeing things underwater. They're not so clear on the surface. So when you approach an elephant seal, they might think that you are another male charging them. And then chances are they will fight you back, and chances are you will lose, because they weigh 5 tons and you don't. So there is an alternative approach, and this is where we're getting to the very thin ice of this presentation. But it's also a philosophical part of it. Basically, you can crawl towards them. You don't have to walk towards them. You can crawl towards them. And then, and this is something I would like to sink into you, then the chances that they will think you are another male are greatly reduced. However, what if they think that you are a female? Well, I didn't want to find out. So the eternal dilemma, make love or war. In the case of elephant seals, I choose war. I just go there as outstretched as I can possibly be. And I figured I would rather be squashed from the outside than from the inside. Coming back to the station, we will be soon running out of time. This is where I lived. This was my home for altogether about 3 years on 4 different expeditions. This is where I lived while conducting all my studies. And there are certain things that I would like to share with you at the end of this. Basically, you can see that the stations from the outside, they don't look super cozy because they have to be efficient, right? That's why they stand out. They are very brightly colored. But inside, they're very accommodating. And actually, Arctowski, the Polish station, is one of the most comfortable and cozy places I've been to in Antarctica. You can see it's warm inside and so on. Because we are so far away from everywhere and we'll be here for so long that, of course, we need to be comfortable. But one thing that I've learned there is that you really have to be very patient with people because you don't go there just with a group of friends. No, everybody goes there for professional reasons. So you end up with people who will be different from you, with very different views. On one of my occasions, I had expeditions when I was the base commander, actually. One of the members of my team, he was a neo-Nazi. He was far right, misogynistic, homophobic, nationalistic, anti-Semitic, you name it, he was that. All those things. And yet, at the same, and I'm on the completely different end of the spectrum. However, at the same time, he was the most talented of mechanics that ever were at the station. And we both very quickly realized that there's no point in talking about pretty much anything, but he was my most reliable member of the expedition. Whenever there was a trouble, I knew that I can rely on him because he was quick to act, quick to think, and so on. So the Antarctica teaches you how to be not only humble in the face of nature that it is trying to kill you all the time, which is great. I'm a simple organism and I like simple challenges. And when my challenge is don't die today, don't fall into the crevasse, don't fall into the sea, because you will die, then you can forget about everything else. But the challenges are also to accept the people around you because we are all in the same predicament. And it doesn't only mean the station, it also goes beyond the station because we are isolated, as you can see on this photo. This also explains, incidentally, why the doors at the station open inwards rather than outwards, I guess. Anyway, people from all sorts of nations go there, and Antarctica is one of the probably the only place in the world, really, where the human cooperation internationally works so well. In fact, I once realized sitting on the top of a mountain that Antarctica is probably the only place where I can see somebody's footprints in the snow. I saw those footprints and I had no idea who that was. But you don't know who the person is, but you know that they are your friend. And this is the thought that I would like to leave you with, because in Antarctica, we are all in the same predicament. We all need to work together, and we are all friends, brothers, and sisters. And this is one of the best things that I've learned about that place, and this is one of the many things that keep me going back there. And with this, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miko. That was so fascinating. Thank you so much, and really really lovely way to finish that presentation as well. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Great to see those pictures of everyone at the station as well. And there's a guy in a t-shirt as well, I saw.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like an igloo made of snow and ice. It's cozy. It's home, and it will be home for many years, for many months.
No, looks great. Looks absolutely great. Well, listen, Miko, don't go anywhere. We'll give you a few minutes to relax, because but don't go anywhere because we've got a Q&A and there's a few questions in, and I've got a few of my own as well. But we will invite Becky Francis from Quark, who's hopefully still around. Pop her camera on, and here she comes. Hopefully, all good. There she is. Hi, Becky.
Yay! Hello. How do I follow from that?
I know that's a tough act to follow, which is why I'll put my camera off and leave it to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Martin.
Leave it to you. Thanks, Becky.
So I'm just going to share my screen now, everyone. So, as Martin said, hi everyone, I'm Becky. I am based in the UK and I'm part of the Quark Expedition sales team over here. So, I am the director of sales. Very hard gig to follow from Miko, who obviously works on board Quark Expeditions now as one of our amazing expedition leaders. But I thought what I'd try and do is just finish off today with 5 reasons why to choose Quark if you are looking to head to Antarctica or the Arctic. So I think first of all, which I'm sure you're already aware of, but if not, we only do polar is kind of our number one USP that we really like to talk about with any clients that are looking to really go to one of these regions. So with over 30 years expertise in this region, in the polar regions, it's without a doubt that we have such knowledge within our expedition team and our vessels that, you know, from the local communities, whether it's the Inuit community in Greenland, the polar environments, the wildlife habits, we have 32, nearly 33 years in total of expertise there. So you can definitely trust Quark Expeditions if you choose to travel with us to the polar regions. In 1991, it is when it all started. And that's when we took our first ever group of travelers to the North Pole, which is crazy. And then if we look like more recent times, in 2019 is when Quark Expeditions did commence the building of our very first purpose-built polar vessel, the Ultramarine, which I will show you some images of in a little while. We've introduced various new things throughout the years, even in 2021, in the midst of COVID. We introduced a new dining activity on board, which is our Trundetta table. And then even this year, we did introduce a new vessel, which is our Ocean Explorer, which I will show you. So without going into too much detail, because I know I'm on a bit of a time scale, when I say we only do polar, just to give you a bit of a summary of where we actually do go. So starting off with Antarctica, which we just had an amazing presentation about with the diversity of wildlife and landscape and what you can really see there. These are some of the destinations you can travel to with Quark Expeditions. So we have the Peninsula, we have the Falkland Islands, we have South Georgia with the amazing seals and wildlife you've just seen, what Miko's been talking about, Patagonia and Snow Hill Island. So just to give you a little bit of an overview on Snow Hill, this is where we will go on the search of the emperor penguins. It's an absolutely once in a lifetime opportunity to do, and it only happens basically every other year with Quark Expeditions. So our next voyage is next year, and we're pretty much nearly sold out. So if you are wanting to go and see emperor penguins, definitely check out that itinerary with Quark Expeditions. Moving into the Arctic, just as a quick summary, we do Svalbard. So if you do want to go and see the polar bears, because they're not in Antarctica, like Miko said, you'll definitely find them up in that region, along with Greenland, which has been told lately that is the big sister of Iceland. So if anyone on this call has been to Iceland and absolutely loved it, then definitely check out Greenland. And then also we have the Canadian Arctic, which is a fantastic, diverse mix of like kind of the land activities where you've got the Inuit community mixed with the diverse wildlife up there. Number two, obviously, I'm sure if Miko hasn't sold it, how absolutely incredible our expedition leaders are and our staff on board. We do really think that we have the most experienced team. Again, given the 30 years experience that we have in the polar regions, the passion, the unparalleled knowledge, it's literally second to none that our customers really get to embrace when they're on board with the Quark Expeditions. You know, these guys are marine biologists, they're political science PhD majors, we've got medics, we've got biologists, we have wildlife experts, we have environmentalists, we have polar history experts, glaciologists, conservationists. So literally, we do believe that the knowledge that you gain from our expedition team is second to none when you're traveling with Quark Expeditions. And I think something I just want to highlight is our guest to expedition ratio. So it's around 1 to 6, 1 to 7. So for every 6 customers on board with Quark, we'll have an expedition leader. So you can just imagine the diverse, you know, kind of people that you're surrounded by with all the expedition team on board. You literally do get the knowledge coming through day in, day out. The other thing I just wanted to touch on is that at Quark Expeditions, we actually do have a dedicated polar training institute. It's the only one in the polar expedition industry. So it's a staff training specialized program, and it does really just make sure that Quark Expeditions does go above and beyond the industry standards. So you are very well looked after on board with Quark. We do believe that we do try and take our clients deeper into this region. We really do want to connect you with the polar environments. You know, we try and encourage our guests to get off ship as much as possible to see and embrace themselves in that pristine polar landscape. Not just view it from your window or your balcony while you're having your coffee. It's all about what you do off board, not on board with Quark Expeditions. And just to let you know some quick things, we do offer the most off-ship adventure activity options as well in the polar regions. We were the first to offer SUP and hot air ballooning. And what that really means is that you can personalize each voyage to really suit your taste. So whether you want to go heli hiking, kayaking, or just go on some guided treks, there will be something for you to customize your trip with. Just to let you know, sneak peek on our amazing Ultramarine, which I'm going to show you a photo of, we do have 2 twin engine helicopters as well. So not only can you see some of these regions by sea, by land, but also by air, which is incredible. And then just to let you know, if anyone's wondering, because I've been going through all these adventure options about fitness levels, please do not stress. We have plenty of options that are there for different fitness levels. So you can really choose the out and adventure option if you wanted to add anything on that really does best suit you. So just to give you a run through some things that are included, where we say we take you deeper in, you know, you will be getting Zodiac cruises daily where we do disembark. We will do guided hikes where you can change daily what level you want to go at. So whether it's beginner, intermediate, advanced, they will be taking you on there. We do have photographers on board. So if you're interested in photography, there's even specialized itineraries where you can really get hands-on with taking the best photos. We have daily lectures on board. If anyone would like to take the plunge and do the polar plunge and get that certificate, you can do that on our voyages. And just to let you know as well, with the helicopters, like I described on Ultramarine, every single customer does get a free experience to go on the helicopter, like a 15 to 20-minute ride included. And that's just some of the included activities we do. For paid adventure options, I won't go into too much detail, but anything from heli hiking, heli landings to really exemplify the helicopters that we have on board, to camping maybe in Greenland, maybe mountain biking, paddle boarding. It's all up for options, and you can book these with Polar Routes prior to even going on your expedition. The other reason why we do think that we are the best in the business in the polar regions is because we have a comprehensive sustainability strategy, which is so important in these pristine areas that we are visiting. So in 2010, we did decrease our emissions by the fleet by 28%, which is amazing. By 2017, we did eliminate single-use plastic, and by 2025, we are aiming to reduce our carbon emissions by 10%. And this all goes under our amazing sustainability strategy called Polar Promise. I'm not going to go through any more detail, but you can check that out in more detail, or obviously Polar Routes can send you our report, which was published in 2020. And the final reason why we definitely would love to get you on board, and what we think is a massive unique selling point to Quark, is our amazing fleet that we have. So we do have the Ultramarine, which is 199 guests on board. We also have the World Explorer, which is our all balcony, all suite, with 172 on board, and then the Ocean Explorer at 138. The Ocean Explorer did just launch in January this year for Quark, and its first voyage will be this Antarctic season coming up, which will commence in November this year with 138 passengers on board. So a wide variety, whether you're looking for that really smaller, intimate ship, or whether you're happy to go up to 199 with our amazing polar vessel, which was specifically designed for Quark. We do think we have something for everyone. Whatever cabin type you're looking for, whether it's solo, couple, or group, we definitely got you covered. And you can kind of choose the ship also on the personality. So whether you're looking for world-class spas and private balconies on our World Explorer, to maybe wanting to watch the world go by in the hot tub on our ocean adventure, there will be something hopefully that suits your needs from a ship and vessel point of view. And of course, like I I said, we do have our amazing ultramarine, which was specifically designed with everything polar in mind. So some images just to kind of finish off. This is our World Explorer. You can see here some of the interior spaces from the gym to the dining area to one of just the lounge areas. The Ocean Explorer, which is our new vessel, which will be going out to Antarctica from November this year. This is the amazing boardatorium at the front. Imagine when this is in the Arctic and you'll be able to see the northern lights from here. It would just be absolutely insane. So this is one of the chill out areas, which is also called the Library Lounge. We also have some other interior spaces just to show you, from a restaurant to one of the lead-in suites to also just another chill out lounge bar area. If you're into fitness and you think you might want to be working out when you're away, we do have a full fitness center along with a sauna, which does come with a beautiful window overlooking the amazing landscape. And of course, it does come with 2 hot tubs on board as well. So if you do want to watch the world go by and see those amazing icebergs and animals from the luxury of a hot tub, it is available on our ship. And then finally finishing off with our amazing ultramarine, which was commissioned in 2019 with the dual helicopter pads. It does also have 4 Zodiac embarkmentation points, so it just means we can get you off as quick as possible as well, which is most importantly because we want to get you off the ship. And it does also come with a wraparound deck, so you'll have great views wherever you are for wildlife on that deck. An image of just one of the spacious suites to kind of show you the comfort level. And just to let you know, we do believe that Ultramarine really does feature the most spacious suites in its category. Some exceptional dining facilities. This is just one of many of the dining rooms. And as you can see, we really do encourage passengers to really mix and mingle when they're on board. We obviously can cater for just tables of 2, but we do try and encourage people to sit with one another and really chat about what they've seen, what they've done, and what's to come. We have a fitness and spa amenity on here, as you can see as well, again with amazing views of outside. And then this is just an image of one of the wraparound decks. And of course, when most customers do travel with Quark Expeditions on the Ultramarine, they will say one of their key highlights was definitely the opportunity that they got to go in the helicopter and not only see the destination, like I said earlier, from the land, from the sea, but also from the air. So just wrapping up, just to give you an idea of a typical day on a Quark Expeditions, you'll be waking up, having an amazing breakfast, then we'll be getting you straight off ship for your first excursion of the day on the Zodiacs, coming back on board for some lunch because no doubt you would have been hungry, and then we'll be taking you off again in the afternoon for a second off-ship excursion. Coming back from that, there will be recaps and lectures and briefings, so the expedition team can talk you through exactly what you've seen, what you've done that day, and then you'll have some free time, of course, and also lectures, by the way, guys. It's completely up to you if you do want to attend them. They're also streamed in your room. So if you do want to just relax, you can tune in from your room. Then dinner will be served and then you can relax in our lounge. You will be, no doubt mixing and mingling with some of the expedition team, and they even host sometimes bar talks where you'll just hear some of the amazing stories like Miko just went through there. So just wanted to quickly run through everything you roughly get on a Quark Expedition in 2 seconds. So all short excursions and Zodiac cruises are included. You've obviously got the option if you do want to add on any additional ones. We do have leadership throughout the voyages by our experienced expedition team. Your shipboard accommodation and daily housekeeping is included. All your meals, snacks, soft drinks and juices on board are included. For this Arctic season, if anyone's looking for a last minute deal, we do have selected beer, wine during dinners, teas, coffees, hot chocolates around the clock. However, from Antarctica 24-25, so from November onwards in general with Quark, all guests will be getting complimentary Wi-Fi and alcoholic beverages on all voyages. We do have the onboard educational program, like I just said, with the lectures and recaps daily, along with bar talk series and a nighttime. You will get a photographic journal documenting your whole expedition, which is absolutely incredible. Along with, you'll also get the pair of waterproof expedition boots that are on loan. So you can't keep them sadly, but we do loan them for free to you. You'll also get one of our amazing yellow parkas like you can see on this image of the expedition parka, and you can keep that and take it home. It also has a lovely fleece zip inlining, so you can actually take it off, and you've got that as another perfect coat. We do have hair dryers, bathrobes in every cabin, group arrival and departure transfers. Normally you'll get a one pre-cruise night hotel. All service taxes, port charges are included, and then all luggage handling on board the ship as well. And of course, really importantly, in these polar regions, your emergency evacuation insurance is included with Quark. And that's it from me. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Becky.
And that was no worries.
That was great. That was great. So much included. That's a long list, which is brilliant. And also great, I think, from Antarctic 24-25 with the drinks included. It's a nice little extra touch, I think, to have on that. Brilliant. Miko, if I can, hopefully still there, ask you to pop your camera. Becky, also stay where you are. There's a couple of questions I've got for you as well. Not off the hook yet.
Yeah, no, sure. I'm here.
Brilliant, thanks. So there's a couple of questions that I'll come to, but I just wanted to probably, Miko, come to you on the whales front. Is there a better time in Antarctica for seeing whales? Because traditionally there was, but I think actually now it's sort of much more season round. What's your feelings on when to travel to see the best chances of seeing whales?
Well, generally, you know, that as they migrate, that the rule that you are referring to is that the later in the season, the better. It probably still holds. It's just that the whale numbers have increased over the last 20 years. Humpbacks especially made a great comeback. So even at the beginning of the season, yes, there will be fewer whales there than towards the end of the season or in the middle of it. However, there will still be whales. So to answer shortly, yes, there will be there throughout the season, not all year round, but throughout the season. There will be slightly more later in the season than early. That's it.
Brilliant. And you touched on the sort of next thread I wanted to go on to, which is whale sort of population numbers, because they are good at. I mean, they're increasing and good at the moment. I don't know if there's official statistics, or if you've got a feeling from being down there. But
I'm a scientist. I don't have feelings. It's just that. No, what I mean is that yes, there have been papers published about this, and yes, we can see the increase. When I was a kid in the 1970s, the global population of humpback whales was estimated around 500 individuals, or maybe around 1,000 at the maximum, because we had been hunting them throughout the 20th century, right? And then amazing thing happened. Nobody would expect that once you stop killing things at a huge scale, they come back. How weird is this? And this is exactly what they did. So now the population is estimated in tens of thousands. So yes, definitely there has been an increase, and I can definitely confirm this.
Brilliant. And that sort of history, without delving too much, but you can still see that a little bit as well in places like Grytviken and Deception Island.
Absolutely. I've actually, for the last, I don't know, 7 years, I've been the historian on board, and so these are the things that I pinpoint to people. Like there are numerous things from the past that we can still revisit, and I think it's a good thing because we realized what we are capable of as a species, and hopefully we will not repeat it. But Grytviken is a great example of, you know, the machinery for killing whales. And you know that in the 20th century, almost 2 million whales were killed in all of Antarctica. They were almost completely gone. And 150 years ago, sailors complained that they cannot sleep because there are so many whales that they make so much noise and they keep bumping into the ship and they cannot sleep. And even now, though the whales are much more numerous, they're nowhere near the numbers from the beginning of the 20th century.
So still got some way to go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. James Watson asks an interesting question. In one of the photos in your talk, it looked like there were seals and penguins on the same seashore. Are the penguins safe on land? Is it normal to see the two species living in such close proximity?
Well, they don't live in proximity, but they hang out together. And yes, this is the point I was making, that because there are no land predators, things don't have a fear of other things, and I've even seen leopard seals with penguins on land or on ice floe, and it's a little bit like, you know, that the famous documentary called Happy Feet. It's one of the best movies about Antarctica ever made, and I have never seen a biologist who doesn't like it. And there is a group of penguins mocking a leopard seal on land because they are faster than the leopard seal, so they have nothing to fear from a leopard seal on land or on the ice. And in that photo, there was actually, it was an elephant seal with some penguin chicks. And yes, they're safe; they won't be attacked unless they do something stupid, which unfortunately chicks sometimes do. So I have seen them climbing the lying elephant seal, and they were just running up the body of the animal and then jumping off his head. But then, unfortunately, the elephant seal rolled to the side and squashed one of the penguin chicks. But otherwise, otherwise they're safe unless they do something stupid.
Good. Oh well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you can't help it, can you? I
No.
guess, but yeah, absolutely. Becky, one of the questions in for you, just on the three ships that Quark have got, obviously slightly different sizes, 138, 170, 200. Is there much difference in the program and operation of a ship at 138 versus 200? Does it not matter, or should people go for one over the other? Any help you could offer there?
No, I think certain itineraries are specific to ships. So it's not like every single itinerary, there will be three choices of the ship, just to let you know. So sometimes it will be very specific to the itinerary and destination and duration that you're looking at. But I think it's all down to preference. On a lot of the ships, there might be, sorry, not on a lot. On a few of the itineraries, there might be a couple of ship options. Normally, you wouldn't get all three. And I think that would just generally go down to your preference of the cabin that you want, and the price point as well will be reflected in that. For instance, if you look at like the ultramarine compared to the other ships we have, with the likes of the helicopters, the state-of-the-art sauna spa area that we have, the price point is a little bit more expensive. But some people just prefer more intimate, smaller with the 138 versus a 199. The actual service you get on board is second to none, regardless of what ship you travel on. Our heritage runs throughout all three ships. I'm sure Miko can vouch for that, given he's probably worked on maybe most
All
of
of your
them.
ships. All of your
Yeah,
ships.
all of the ships. Miko, I don't know if you would say there's any difference or how to really pick the ship that.
Now, I think especially nowadays, because there is a big difference between a ship that is under 100 and over 100, and
Yeah.
then the difference is finished more or less. Because in anywhere in Antarctica or in the Arctic, for that matter, you cannot land more than 100 guests on shore at one time, right? So when you have more than 100, we what we do, we usually have to split. So have people go to land and have others go to Zodiac cruise, and that's our typical operation. And then after 1 hour and a half or something like this, we would switch the two groups. And I have, I started working with Quark in, I think, 2007, when we had smaller ships. And of course, I love smaller ships, and I was quite hesitant when I first had a contract on one of the bigger ones. It was Ocean Endeavor, just under 200. And then I discovered something unexpected, because like with a 100 passenger ship, you go everywhere, you don't need to worry about anything. But there are certain places where you just land because there is a penguin colony, or I don't know, or beautiful vista from the top of the mountain. You don't think about cruising there, you just go on land. And there are some other places where you just cruise because there's loads of icebergs. And because I found myself on the larger ship when we had to split people, I started cruising in places where I had never cruised before in 15 years of my career. And it was like, wow, that's actually amazing. Places like, say, Half Moon Island. You only land there, and then it turns out that there's an amazing Zodiac cruise not far from it. And we wouldn't do it if the ship was smaller, because we would just be landing. So actually now I'm sort of converted. I don't mind it when it's a larger ship than 100. As long as it's fewer than 200, it's great.
Yeah. Miko, do you know have you been contracted for next season? Do you know which ship you're on?
No, not yet, because well, I will be on for the Arctic season on the ship that we are saying goodbye to, actually, Ocean Adventure. And then for the next season, I've asked for Ultramarine, but it's still in the working. So whether I will get there or not, we'll see.
Okay, so if people would like to cruise with you, then the Arctic for the Ocean Adventurer is where
Yes.
they need to be, which actually has got some great deals on as well. So hey, that's a good on there. That's good on there. Brilliant. There's thank you so much, guys. I'm conscious of time. I'm just going to very quickly rifle through two other bits that have come through. Best time to go to the Arctic to see the Northern Lights. Not overly specific, but I think
I've got
everyone will
one.
probably agree. Oh, go on then.
I was going to say, well, Quark actually does a specific trip just for the Northern Lights. So it is running on the 20th of September, if it's free in your calendar, and it's called Under the Northern Lights, Exploring Iceland and East Greenland. So we would tend to say September, October, but we only have one departure. So that is running the 20th, and it's a 12-day trip.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, thought I'd
Well,
mention that one, Martin.
one thing is that you need darkness to see the Northern Lights. And we are so far north that in the middle of summer it doesn't get dark, so you don't get to see the lights. That's very simple. So it has to be the end of the season. So September is a great time.
Yeah, I've had one of the best Northern Lights experiences I've ever had in Greenland in September, and that was on a very old Quark ship, which has long gone. An anonymous attendee, so I must have the wrong time zone for this, which is funny because we had some slightly miscommunication on time zones at our end as well. It must be the British summertime. You've missed the talk. This talk will go up, so you know, on YouTube tomorrow. So if you go to the Polar Routes YouTube channel, probably from say mid-afternoon onwards, you'll find this talk up there. So if you did miss little bits, then you can find it on there. Let's quickly ask, because it's just a funny thing to finish on. Lisa has asked, has anyone fallen out of the Zodiacs and into the water?
Not from my Zodiac, no. I always make sure that I instruct my guests not to fall out of my Zodiac, because there's a lot of paperwork involved, and I'm not very good with paperwork, so no.
So not in me. I will also just say it's not a very common thing. Probably not impossible, but I think you'd have to be doing something seriously wrong to fall out. They are a very stable platform, so I think if you did fall out, I have a feeling it might be because of your own actions, shall we say, on that. Brilliant. Listen, thank you so much to both of you. It's been absolutely fascinating. Yeah, thank you so much, Miko. Thanks, Becky, and thanks for Quark support in this. I'm just going to share my screen one last time because we have a prize draw to announce. Hopefully, yes, you can now see we have already done the draw. So all I need to do is reveal the winner. And the winner for tonight is Barbara Brown. So congratulations to you, Barbara. You have your choice between the Pink Pepper Kitchen luxury polar bear brownies with a polar bear tin, not polar bear brownies, that's weird, or a signature Sea Change wine pack. To do that, you need to email info@polarroutes.co.uk. That's info@polarroutes.co.uk. Just drop an email and we will get someone to get you sorted with those prizes. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Just to let you know, Becky mentioned it, but there are some great deals with Quark at the moment, including Arctic 2024 with up to 50% off, including the Ocean Adventurer with Miko. Caveat, you know, assuming Miko not 100% guaranteed because anything can happen, but yeah, Miko's up there. You could join him on the Ocean Adventure, 50% off for a number of Arctic adventures, as well as great deals on next season to Antarctic. And if you book before the 30th of April, exclusive to Polar Routes, not only will you get all of the inclusions Becky mentioned earlier, but you will also get $250 per person to spend on board as well. So that could be a spa treatment, it could be some shop purchases, it could be some extra nice drinks at the bar. Thank you again so much, Miko. Thanks, Becky, and Quark Expeditions. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a lovely evening, and we will be in touch soon with the next Polar Routes Inspiration series. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.